Hi, this is Gary with MACMOST.com. Let me show you 10 ways that you can quickly access an important file on your Mac. MACMOST is brought to you thanks to a great group of more than 1,000 supporters. Go to MACMOST.com/Patreon. There you could read more about the Patreon campaign, join us, and get exclusive content and course discounts. So let's say you've got a file on your Mac that's particularly important and you access it often. There are several ways to quickly get to that file when you need to. Here's an example. Say here in my Documents folder under Projects I have another folder called Project Alpha. And in that I've got important document.pages. Now I want to get to that file often, and when I do I want to get to it quickly. So you may be tempted to put it somewhere where you can access it really easily, maybe on the desktop, maybe at the top level of your Documents folder. But where it really belongs is inside of a folder like inside this Projects folder and inside of a subfolder there. It's important to have it in its proper place. But if it's buried so deep down, how do you get to it quickly? So one way is to use Spotlight. You can activate Spotlight very quickly by using Command Space. Then start typing the file name. Now you don't need to type the entire file name to actually see it appear here. But you do have to type enough so that it's the top result. This will make it a little quicker to select. So you can see it's now my top result. It may be fewer, maybe just one character for you. As soon as it's that top result and you see it selected there, you can simply press Return and it will open up that file. So while this isn't the quickest way to access a file, it does have two advantages over all the other methods. One is that you don't have to set up anything in advance. You could just go right ahead and use Command Space, type the name, and get right to it. The other thing is you can use this for any file. So you can use it for this file right now or any other file that happens to become important at any time. Now if you do decide that a file is really important and you're going to access it all the time, you could add it right here to the sidebar. The top item in the sidebar in the Finder should be Favorites. If it doesn't show anything under here, you may need to expand it like that. You can actually drag a file to Favorites, but the trick is you need to hold the Command key down. So I'm going to drag this file here, and all I can do right away is simply have it go into one of these folders. But if I hold the Command key down, I can add it to the list of favorites. Now it'll always be there. Wherever I am, if I go say to my Home folder, it's still going to be there. And one click will open the file. Now another thing you can do is you can add a desktop alias. I try to keep a clean desktop here. And you could certainly move the document itself to the desktop. But that actually puts it in the desktop folder. It's no longer in its proper place. So instead, put an alias there. If you drag this over to the desktop like that, but hold down the Option and the Command keys, both, you can see this little curved arrow here next to the file name. If I release and drop it here, I'll see the icon for the file and I'll see that little curved arrow there as well. The file itself is still tucked away nicely in the folder where it belongs. But I can access it at any time by double clicking right here to open up the file. I can also put an alias like this in the dock. The way to do that is simply drag it to the dock, but not to the left side. The left side contains applications. The right side, near the trash can, can contain files and folders. So if I place it there, you can see I get the file right there. Now if I want to open it up anytime, I just go to the dock and click on it once there. You could also place a file in the toolbar at the top of the Finder. So you drag this up to the top and nothing will really happen. But if you hold the Command key down, then you'll see you can add it in between other icons. So I'm going to drop it right there and you can see it adds that file there. You don't have quite as much room as you'll have here in the sidebar where it's easy to scroll. But if you just have one file you want to access like this, you can easily put it there, then click on it and it will open up that file. To get rid of it, by the way, all you need to do is use Command and drag down. You don't need to go to the special interface for modifying the toolbar. Now in addition to Favorites in the sidebar here, you should also see something for Tags. And if you expand that, you'll see the most frequently used tags. You can take a file like this and apply a tag to it one of many ways. I'm going to select it and do Command I to get info. And I'm going to add a tag. And I'm going to call one Quick Access. And now this has the Quick Access tag applied. If I look here in Tags, I should now see Quick Access listed since I just created it. Anytime I select this any file that has the quick access tag will appear here in this special list. And I can now double click it to open it up. This isn't quite the fastest method since you have to select quick access tags here and then double click on the file. But it does have an advantage where you can easily add several files here. So if there's more than one file you need quick access to, this is a good option. Plus, anytime you want to remove a file, all you need to do is select it and remove the quick access tag. And that will remove it here so it's easy to add files and remove files without moving them from where they are. Now if you want to make it a little bit quicker, what you could do is actually add this to the dock. Drag the tags from here to the right side of the dock, just where we put that file. And now you'll see the tag appear there. If you click it, you'll get a list of the files there and then you can open it up. And then this has the same advantage where you can easily add that tag to any files that you want to appear there or remove them. And you can also create several different tags and put them in the dock. Now chances are any file that you want to have quick access to often is going to be listed in the Apple menu under recent items. And sure enough here we can see this one. Anything that's listed in the menu bar can have a keyboard shortcut made for it. So note very carefully the menu item. It's the exact name of the file. In this case, important space document.pages. So now if I were to go to System Preferences and then to Keyboard and then to Shortcuts, then App Shortcuts and add a keyboard shortcut, then go to Menu Title and type exactly that menu item. Like that. Then I could add a keyboard shortcut. I'm actually going to add Shift F12. You may need to use the FN key on your keyboard to do that depending upon your settings. Now with Shift F12 I should be able to open this up. In fact, if I go to the Apple menu here and look in recent items, I'll see the keyboard shortcut right there. So now anywhere I am in any app, like I'm in System Preferences still, I can use Shift F12 and it will open that file. Now another thing you can do is you could put this in the menu bar right here by adding a shortcut. I'm going to run the Shortcuts app and then I'm going to create a new shortcut. And I'm only going to add two actions to it. The first one is going to be to get the file. So I'm going to search for File and then add File here. Click that and that allows me to select the file. So that's in Documents and then Projects and then Project Alpha and then there's that document there. Then the second action, open File, and it's right there. And one will flow into the other and then I'll leave it as default app. And now this should work. I could test it out here by playing it and you can see it works. Now I can name it something and I could go to Settings here and say I want to pin it in the menu bar. And now it's right here and I could use that anywhere to quickly open that document. A neat advantage to this is you could actually repeat these two steps here in the same shortcut. Have it get to another file and open that, and then activating it here will actually open those two documents. You could also set a keyboard shortcut for this by selecting Use this Quick Action and then you should have checked here Services menu and then you could add Keyboard Shortcut. Another cool thing about shortcuts is that they work with Siri. I'm going to activate Siri by clicking here, but you can use whatever keyboard you have set or the words Hey and Siri if you have that turned on in System Preferences. And then you can just use the exact name for this shortcut here. Open important document.
That's done.
And I want to add one last tip here that may seem obvious to some users but not everybody. And that is when you have an important document like this that you're going to be working with all the time, one way to skip having to open it at all is to just never close it. On a Mac it's perfectly okay to leave an application like Pages or TextEdit or Numbers or whatever it is running all the time with that important document open. You can have that on another desktop or as a full screen app and just simply switch to it with the application switcher. So if you find yourself always closing and then reopening that same document throughout the day, just leave the document open all day long. Hope you found this useful. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, click the thumbs up button below to let me know. I publish new tutorials each weekday. Hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out.